One of the questions we as engineers need to ask ourselves that this concrete that we've cast, will the cube pass the test? Welcome to this channel, the Merchant Construct-preneurs and Tutors, your go-to channel for everything about construction, engineering, structural engineering. So today we'll be looking at how to interpret concrete cube test results, right? So cubes are samples taken from a large concrete that is cast, and then you take it to the laboratory for test. So we are testing it against the specified strength and what you've done on site, right? So you've cast your concrete cubes, cured them properly, and tested them in the compression testing machine. Now the results are in, but the real question is, how do you know whether this concrete actually passed the test? Very key question, right? You must have done your trial mix and you've done everything, all the procedures, you follow them. But how do you know whether the concrete actually passed the test? Many engineers simply look at the numbers and assume everything is fine. But interpreting concrete cube test results require more than just reading a number. You must understand average strength, variation between cubes, and acceptance criteria, right? So these things are what you need to know. Just not looking at the numbers, oh, this is closer, or it is a bit shy away from the actual test just by some numbers, right? So let us just refresh our strength. I refresh our memories about concrete, right? Concrete cube strength is not judged from a single cube. You should know that it's not taken from a single cube. Instead, engineers test a set of cubes and analyze the results statistically. Testing and interpretation procedures are guided by standards such as the BS EN 12390 per 3 and BS 1881. These standards ensure the strength results are reliable and consistent, right? So this statement is telling about, one, that concrete cubes are not judged from one single cubes taken from a set or from a group of cubes, and they are checked analytically. And then there are standards using the, if you are using the British code, the you have to code BS 1881, BS EN 12390 per 3. So now the number of cubes to be tested. Some engineers actually take 9 cubes. They test 3 for 7 days, test 3 for 14 days, and 3 for 28 days. But majority of engineers or companies, they actually test 6 cubes, 3 for 7 days, 3 for 28 days. So for one concrete batch, you normally have 3 cubes for early strength and 3 cubes for final strength. The average strength of the cubes is used for the evaluation. So you are not taking just one cube. For 7 days, you have a minimum of 3 cubes. For 28 days, you also have for a minimum of 3 cubes. So the 7 days is for early strength, right? And the 28 days is for final strength. So this statement alone is even saying and make you to understand that for the early strength, once you see the result, you already know that something is either right or wrong. It gives an indication whether it is right or wrong. So you need to know how to interpret cube results. So now the expected strength development from researches. So you can see that concrete gains strength gradually with time, right? So typical strength development pattern is shown on the table. And we are having a table. We have the age of concrete, we have the standard strength development, and we have the expected strength development. So like for 7 days now, the standard strength that the cube supposed to have is 65%. For 14 days, 90%. For 21 days, 95%. For 28 days, 100%. So you're using C30 as a constant. For 7 days, you have 19.5. For 14 days, you have 27. For 21 days, you have 28.5. For 28 days, you have 30 Newton per millimeter square. So the 28-day result is the most important for acceptance, right? So if you irrespective of the grade of concrete you have, just for 7 days you have 65% of it. For 90 days, for 14 days, you have 90% of the strength. So if your result is not giving you anything close to 65% for 7 days, then there's something wrong. You need to start looking at it critically to understand what has gone wrong. But then that is not the major criteria. The 28-day is for the final strength, and it is the acceptance criteria, one of the acceptance criteria. So step one, you need to calculate the strength of each cube. So we are having a sample of a cube here in this table. So compressive strength is given as the maximum load divided by the area. So the maximum load is what the compression testing machine, the load that the failure load the compression testing machine exerts on the cube, right? So for a cube, 150 cube, the area is 2250 22,500 millimeter square. So for cube one, we have the load as 700, and the strength from our calculation, from our formula, maximum load divided by area, so we have the 31.1. For cube two, we have the load as 680, and then the strength, corresponding strength, is 30.2. For cube three, the load as 690, and the corresponding strength is 30.7. So this is how you tabulate it so that you'll be able to understand how this thing work. Remember, the compressive strength of a cube is given as the maximum load. That maximum load is the load before failure, that failure load itself. And then the area is the area of the cube. You have the cube as a 150 is the cube, so 150 length, 150 width, and 150 height. So that guides you on what we are doing. So step two, we need to calculate the average strength. So you have cube one, the result, the strength is 31.1. For cube two, the strength is 30.2. The cube three, the strength is 30.7 Newton per millimeter square. Then the average strength is to add cube one to cube two to cube three divided by 3. So once you solve that, if you are having 30.7, so the average strength is what? 30.7. So this value is used to evaluate the strength, right? So once you have this, you are sure that you've gotten your strength. But now there are cases whereby dis individual results are not close by. So we are going to treat those cases, the case of when the cube results are close, and then the case where the cube results are far apart. What to do? How do you go about it? Do you just discard the one that is not working well, and that is not enclosure, and then take up the other ones? What if that one that you have discarded is the true representative of what has happened on site? So we're looking at the two cases. So case one, when cube results are close to each other. Just as you can see in this case here, cube one is 31.1 Newton per millimeter square, cube two is 30.2 Newton per millimeter square, cube three is 30.7 Newton per millimeter square. Now, what this results indicates is that the concrete mix is consistent, the batching and mixing are correct, the compaction and curing are properly done. So what you do is to simply take an average if they are close together. If they are close, take the average, 31.1 plus 30.2 plus 30.7 divided by 3. So you have it as 30.7 Newton per millimeter square. So if the average that is 30.7 is greater than the specified strength, for here we are saying to specified strength is 25 Newton per millimeter square, the concrete passes. So no further action is required. Right. So what this statement is saying is, if the average strength is greater than the specified, so in this our case now, the specified is 25 Newton per millimeter square, and the average is 30.7. So if it is greater than the specified, the concrete is satisfactory, the mix is satisfactory, the strength is satisfactory, and no further action is needed. So for case two, when the cube results have large variations, right? So now when you have large variations, some people will just outrightly remove the one that is not even close by, and then take the average of the other two. But that is a wrong approach, right? You need to understand what has happened and why it has happened. So in this case here, we have cube one as the strength as 33 Newton per millimeter square, cube two as 27 Newton per millimeter square, cube three as 21 Newton per millimeter square. You can see significantly that the distance between each of them is at least 6, right? Then the first and the last is more than 10. So this result shows large variation. This may indicate poor sampling, poor compaction, segregation, cube defects, testing errors. So in this case, engineers investigate by performing statistical checks using standard deviation. So when you don't just see a test result and you just look for the average once and for all and you think you are done. No, things aren't done that way. You need to understand the cause. You need to run a statistical check to be sure that whatever cube you are receiving, that there are no problems like poor sampling, curing was done anyhow, the cubes were are defects, the testing errors, and so many things that might have happened that made the cube results not consistent. So the next thing you're going to do once you find out that it is not consistent, so the next thing is to find the average strength regardless. You find the average strength of the three. So of the cube one, of cube two, cube three. So when you find the average strength, you have it as 33 point plus 27 plus 21 divided by 3. So the average compressive strength is 2718 per millimeter square, right? So that is the first step. When you discover that it is not consistent, so the first step is to find the average of the cubes that have been sampled or that have been tested, right? So the next step is to look for the standard deviation. And of course, this is a more technical and understandable way to know that this things is not something we just take for granted. You need to understand the root cause. Why must this thing fail? By how much is it deviating from each other, or the difference between the cubes? If one cube is a particular value, what's the difference between the first and the last, first and second, second and third? You understand that kind of thing? So the next thing is to calculate the standard deviation. So the standard deviation measures how widely the results vary. That is what we do standard deviation. So from the formula there, you can see the formula there, and then what each um annotation stands for. The X is for the cube strength, the X with the bar is the main strength, and N is for number of samples. So as you can see from the table, we have the cube numbers, we have the strength, we have the standard deviation, and the square of the difference between the cube strength and the main strength. So for the first cube, we have the strength as 33. So the difference between the cube strength and the main strength is 6, and the square of 6 is 36. For the second cube, your strength is 27. Then so when you subtract it from the main strength, you have 0. Square of 0 is 0. So for the third, you have 21 as the strength. So when you subtract it from the main strength, you have a negative 6, and then the average is, when you add them together, you have 72. So the standard deviation, when you start in the formula, you have 6, right? So the next one is to calculate the coefficient of variation. Sometimes engineers calculate variation percentage, and this percentage is given as standard deviation divided by mean strength multiplied by 100. So our standard deviation is 6 and our mean strength is 27. So when you divide 6 by 27 and multiply by 100%, you have 22%. So for the acceptable variation range, for a variation less than 7%, you have excellent control. Variation between 7% to 10% is good control. 10 to 15% is fair control. Greater than 15% is poor control. So in this example now, the variation is 22%. So this indicates poor quality control. I don't know if you understand what I have done. I gave an instance of when the cube results are close by, the strengths are close by, and when the strengths are far apart, and what to do. You don't just discard anyone and then take up the rest, just continue like that. So you need to investigate to know the root cause. If it means them taking cube samples again, or profiling other solutions, or even having to call that particular portion, we know that we have investigated not just by reading values from the cube result or from the lab, and then we are okay that this thing is working, right? So what engineers do when results vary widely? So when key results show large variation, engineers may one, review batching records, check curing conditions, inspect mixing procedures, test additional cubes, carry out core testing on the structure. So core testing confirms the actual strength of the in-situ concrete. So you see that there's so many things to do apart from just collecting your test results, and then you need to interpret it. You need to know what next. Am I to review the batching records? Am I to check curing conditions if it is properly cured? Inspect the mixing procedures, maybe tell them to carry out trial mix again in your presence, test additional cubes, or core that particular portion. You get? So interpretation of cube result is one thing and one important thing that all engineers must know. You don't just leave it to your QA/QC person. You need to be involved. You need to know why this has happened and then look for ways to mitigate it, right? So thank you for watching this content, the merchant constructpreneurs and tutors. For more educative content on construction and social engineering, kindly like, share, and comment on this video so I can encourage you to make more videos. Thank you.